Welcome to Speaking of Love, the podcast, and I am your host, Latoya. I created this podcast in honor of my dad, who was an amazing guy. He had an infectious laugh, and his spirit was magnetic. He was the type of guy who made everybody feel like somebody special. If you were to place him in a crowded room of 100 people, my dad would be the smartest person in the entire room. He was an award-winning radio TV broadcast engineer for many years. Born and raised in the city of Detroit, he was one of the first to go to college in his family. And while attending Wayne State University, he developed a lifelong love affair with the game of basketball. He was the shortest point guard on the team, but he could slam dunk the basketball with either. Welcome. Welcome to Speaking of Love, the podcast, and I am your host, Latoya. I created this podcast in honor of my dad, who was an amazing guy. He had an infectious laugh, and his spirit was magnetic. He was the type of guy who made everybody feel like somebody special. If you were to place him in a crowded room of 100 people, my dad would be the smartest person in the entire room. He was an award-winning radio TV broadcast engineer for many years. Born and raised in the city of Detroit, he was one of the first to go to college in his family. And while attending Wayne State University, he developed a lifelong love affair with the game of basketball. He was the shortest point guard on the team, but he could slam dunk the basketball with either hand. By all outward appearances, my dad lived a rewarding life, but there were parts of him that were known to only him. On March 2nd of 2020, my dad's private struggles became public when he took his own life in a murder-suicide. When he died, a part of me died too. And since the tragedy, I have become an advocate for mental health awareness and suicide prevention. I also created this beautiful podcast in honor of my dad and others like him who are struggling with the effects of mental health challenges. My podcast, Speaking of Love, is named after a show my dad once hosted called Speaking of Sports. Thank you for taking the time to be here with me today as we take a journey in pursuit of the strongest magnetic force on the planet Earth, and that's love. My name is Latoya Bond, and I have a podcast called Speaking of Love. My podcast is dedicated to the memory of my dad who took his own life in a murder-suicide. Aside from that, I am a business owner. I have a home-based business. I am also a legal professional during my 9-to-5 day. And I am a person who operates her entire life on the premise of spreading love. It's the secret to my success. It's the secret to my longevity on this earth, and it's what keeps us going because love is the thing that makes all things beautiful. So that's why I'm here today to talk about my favorite subject in the whole wide world, and that's love. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Speaking of Love, the podcast. We had a few technical difficulties there, but I was able to correct them. So welcome, everyone. I have an amazing young lady here today. Sabine is here all the way from Dubai, and she's here today to do what? Spread a little love. Welcome to Speaking of Love, Sabine. How are you today?
I'm good, Latoya. Thank you for receiving me. That's really an honor. I've been
Thank
really
you.
emotional watching your trailer for your dad. Believe
Oh,
me.
thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate that. We had a few technical difficulties there, but I was able to get it going. I want you to know that I really appreciate you for being here today. You have a beautiful message to bring forward to my audience today, and there's a lot to be gained and learned from having you here today. Before we go any further, I do want to introduce you to my audience. Sabine is born and raised in Belgium. She's bilingual, both English and French. She's certified NLP and Life Coach, multidimensional healer specializing in healing complex PTSD. She holds a postgraduate in Transpersonal Regression Therapy from the TASSO Institute, Holland. Having studied and mastered different healing techniques and modalities, she has developed her own technique for helping people get back in balance and in harmony by finding all aspects of their lives. So welcome again, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Latoya. That's really a pleasure. Thank
Thank
you.
you. You have so many wonderful things going on in your life. You have dedicated your life to serving and enhancing the lives of other people. And I truly admire that about you. So, we're going to start the interview and go right into talking about the type of work that you are involved in, helping people who have experienced PTSD, helping people with depression. Take me back to where your desire came from to help people in those situations. Where did you get that ability? Where did that come from?
I studied, that's clear, for transpersonal regression therapy and to become a coach, but the main motivation was linked to my personal life. At the
Mhm.
beginning, I started my career in finance to finally become a finance manager. I worked in that field for 18 years, thinking that I would be the most happiest girl in the world, blah, blah, blah. It didn't turn that way, of course. And it's after I left my career, after many depression, many burnout, that I finally started to help people. I was starting slowly under the table, let's say like that, not officially. But when the time came for me to really leave the world of finance, I started to study more about hypnosis, therapies, healing, many things like that to get the background in addition to what I had already. Because naturally, I'm an animal communicator since the age of 7 years old. And also at that time, I could see also many beings that only animal can see, not human in general. Then time passed, and finally, I jumped completely to help people because the type of client I have today are, they have no coincidence in life. And
Mhm.
when I say the type of client is people who have been abused, no matter what is the abuse, but mainly is molestation, sexual abuse, which I pass by. Also, for me, was something that I can understand easily because I pass by. And I was attracting that type of client. People who are in deep depression, people who have suicidal tendency are coming to me, but mainly also because without realizing I was attracting them because I passed by. Yes, I have the knowledge. Yes, I have studied, but my life also has been ups and down for quite a long time until finally I wake up and understood, Sabine, no, now you need to help others because
Mhm.
you passed by, you went out that situation. Now it's your turn to exchange. Let's say like that. Yeah. I'm trying to make it short because it's much more complex than that. Yeah.
Oh, of course. So, can you just kind of give me a definition of what transpersonal regression therapy is?
Yeah.
What
Let's make it
exactly
short.
does that
It's
mean?
a regression. It's a regression to the root cause of the problem. I will give you an example, very easy. I have a person who is married for the third time, but divorced also for the third time, and telling me, Sabine, they all abandoned me.
Mm.
Okay, we start the session in this way. Then I ask the person and say, okay, that feeling of abandonment you felt with the first one, second one, third one, and always they leave you for another woman, right? She said yes. Say, okay, close your eyes and just go back in time when for the very first time in your life you have felt exactly the same feeling, the same emotion. I'm not telling the person go there or go there. I'm just asking, go back to the very first time when you have felt the same emotion. And finally, the person said, oh my God, I'm in the middle of the living room. My dad and my mom had a fight, and my dad is leaving. And she's feeling abandoned because she's repeating to me, don't abandon me, don't abandon me. I can cope with, we can find a solution. And he said, no, I'm in love with her. I will get married with her. That's it, bye. And never she saw her father again, never ever in her life. He died, and that's the moment when she learned he's dead. Imagine the situation. Then we understood that they had a pattern there. She has made a decision at that precise moment. All the men are the same, and the love of my life, which is my father, in the little mind of a child, many things can happen, but often when they make a decision at that moment, it's becoming very powerful. It's embedded in your unconscious mind, and you forget, you grow with it, but finally you start to behave in a way that the love of your life abandoned you. Then your energy start to spread in a very funny way that you are not even aware of this. And all the men that were coming to her felt, yeah, I can leave, it's easy, because she was sending a type of energy that people could not put words on, but were forced somehow to behave in a certain way. You get the point?
I
Because they
get
were
the
living
yeah.
an energy that were telling them, okay, I can do this, I can do that. It's like normal. It's like when you are angry, you spread the feeling of anger, and
Mm,
all of a sudden everyone is angry in the room, nobody understands why.
right. It becomes a part of you. So would you because you specialize in helping people with PTSD, would you
Yeah.
describe an incident like that as someone had PTSD, or would that be different?
Oh, with that situation, this was divorce, she felt abandoned, but in regression, when people have PTSD, we don't always go back to the moment where the emotion was the strongest. For some people, it's impossible because depends the stage where they are. PTSD evolve, unfortunately, like a grief would evolve. They have different stages. Then I'm trying to measure where the person is today when the person start the session with me. If the person is capable to go back to the scene, let's say that woman was with a pervert narcissistic, because I have a lot, she was beaten. He was filming her when they had sex, and he was publishing the video. This is a real case, huh? I'm telling you. It's not something that look like a joke. Unfortunately, it's real, and it took her many years to go out of this. Of course, she developed many PTSD. She was telling me, before going back to work, I was turning around, trying to gain time, do not go back home directly. Missing the first exit, missing the second exit, or stuff like that. And with that specific person, because she did psychology session before me, she was able to go back to some situation that were really painful. Then with her, we have been back directly to the moment when she was beaten, where he was accusing her that it was her fault and everything. Then we have found also from where it's coming from, because her own father was also a narcissist. You see, that's
The
not
pattern.
exactly why she attracted him, but a part of it was the reason. With other people, when they are not capable to go back directly to the scene, what I do, I'm making them imagining like a healing temple where they place furnitures, everything, where they feel really comfortable. And we place a door in front of them where they can play with, open, close. If they don't feel secure, they close it directly. But they are becoming the boss in their own room. They're in full control, and they know that. And then we invite either the person who did things to them, or we invite them at that moment. And often, let's say this happened at 15 years old to my client, and my client today is 40. We will invite the 15 years old if she's remembering all the story, and the 15 years old will enter in the room and she will start a dialogue with the 15 years old. And then we go deeper in the situation. We start to do energy exchange. We start to heal the people present there in the room. In such a case, with the 15 years old, we touch what we call an inner child. And then when we have do a dissociation, let's say like this, we do after that the repair of the child. Well, it's big words, but I cannot explain here. It's too long. I would say a session by itself to be able to explain in a short way here. But let's say when the child is repaired, then we can reintegrate the energy of that inner child. And in a child can be a child or can be a teenager or even an adult. It's your past version. Yeah. And
Sabine, I think
sorry.
the reason that you're able to connect so closely with your clients is because you yourself have experienced traumatic situations. I have a video here that I would like to show my audience that talks a little bit more about you and the wonderful work that you're doing. So we're going to share this video right now. One moment.
We have been taught to eat, to bury our emotion. My parents divorced. I was 5. I'm born in a family that is very dysfunctional. I was totally broken since my childhood. I was 12 years old and I've been abused. I developed vaginismus for years. Depression was not enough somehow because I was constantly thinking of dying. What I'm doing here, why I'm here. I decided to take my life 5 times. Last one, I ended up into intensive care. They didn't know if I will come back. That's difficult for me to say that I was lying to myself for many, many years. I had no chance to heal that way because I was in full denial. I'm not the same person, you know. People who knows me don't know that story. I could not even wake up in the morning. I could not take care of my daughter. I'm out of the grave. I'm fully healed. I will explain the stages of healing. We have also the tendency to resist when we feel an emotion comes. No, I cannot cry. I cannot be angry. I cannot be sad. Many women are facing difficult relationships and they don't understand from where it's coming from. Now I'm even teaching my client through that to recognize the patterns. Everything is possible. Yeah. I'm the proof alive here. Today I'm very, very happy. And I know my happiness is coming from inside. I'm complete. I'm whole again. Oh, Latoya, I can't hear you. Yes.
That is so profound. Thank you for sharing that with us, Sabine. I want to talk a little more about your suicide attempt. I know you mentioned in your trailer there that you've had a suicide attempt, and this is a very serious and sensitive subject matter. So if anyone is triggered by the talk of suicide, please do what you need to do to take care of yourself. At this time, I do want to talk a bit about that, Sabine, if you feel comfortable sharing with my audience.
Yeah, of course. You know, you said that. It's making me emotional again, like when I watch for your father, the trailer for your father. You know, I would say, yes, I'm healed. yes, I'm feeling complete today. And yes, I'm out of the grave. This is a reality. I'm happy to do what I do, helping people, because I know I saved many from doing the action. You get the point? But at the
Mhm.
same time, I want to say, yes, you are healed, but the memories stay there. You get the point? And sometimes you go back and say, who I was? Who was I at that moment? What happened in that fraction of second? You know, many times I tried to go back and say, what I was thinking, what happened exactly? You will not get the answer. I never get the answer. And finally, when you search the moment, when you do that, when you lose hope and you have just one exit, you think you have only one exit, is taking your life. It's going very fast, but finally, this is the consequences of deep trauma, repetitive trauma, shock, abuse. Like in my case, I'm born in a very dysfunctional family. But at the moment when I've done my first suicide attempt, do you think I thought, oh, the problem is there? No, you don't
Mhm.
think about this. It's just so fast. And I was coming back from work. I was working in finance at that moment, but that day I didn't have my daughter. And it was always happening when I'm alone, which is also something that I need to emphasize for people, for you to understand. Don't stay alone when you feel you go down. I was under anxiolytics since years, antidepressant. I think I had all the brand name known of many antidepressants, many molecules. They tried everything. It helped, of course, but I was going like this because I was broken. And this is where nobody understood at that moment. The family could not really understand why I'm like that, why I'm depressed all the time. Oh, you are weak. You need to be strong. You cannot cry. That was my father mainly. You can't cry. You cannot do this. La la la. Of course, you start to repress even more, you know. But then when I say don't stay alone, it's because the 5th time I've done it is the 5th time my daughter was not with me. Then I don't want to say I had an excuse. It's not true. You never have an excuse for that. But it's going so fast in your mind and you are so crazy at that moment that you are not yourself anymore. You lose that part of yourself who is telling you, oh, calm down, just sit, relax, just have a drink, maybe, or go call someone, do something. No, at that moment, no, you don't think about this. That was my case. I mean, for me,
Mhm.
maybe it's different for other people, but in general, it's like that because I've done many therapies in hospital. I ended up many months in Germany in a specialized hospital for depressive people, where I started to understand at that moment. But what is very important, when you feel you start to have bad thought, call someone, even a stranger, but call someone, call the ambulance, do something. Don't stay alone and let your thought taking the control of yourself. Because
Mhm.
one day, well, between my first and my 5th one, they had moments where I was more aware than others, where I had the courage to say, no, I need to call the hospital. And I called the emergency and I said, okay, I want to kill myself. And then, they start to speak with you, and I started to calm down and say, please, do you want us to send an ambulance or you come? And I say, no, I can come. Say, are you sure? I will call you in 20 minutes to make sure that you come. And I say, okay. That's the first time I've been myself to the hospital. But unfortunately, after that, I've been even deeper. And long story short, depends how you are taken by the hospital, what type of doctor, what type of approach you have. This is also very important to understand. My first attempt was in Belgium. And my mom, thanks God, I can say thanks God today, because I've been saved last minutes all the time. My mom called, but I was doing the same thing. medicine, all the box, because that was the general medicine doctor who was prescribing me the antidepressant, anti-anxiolytic, and everything. And I was drinking alcohol with that. When
Wow.
when the moment was coming, I said, I'm fed up. I need to leave. That's it. I was taking 1 bottle, 2 bottle, and all the tablet, all the box I could find at home. I was taking like this in my hand. I was really crazy, believe me. And when I'm speaking about this, I'm still emotional because I'm like, yeah, that's not me today. I don't
Wow.
know who I was at that time. I was really a lost soul. I can say like that. And I was with one foot on the grave.
Yeah.
That was the situation. Luckily, my mom called. I was still, like that, able to take the phone, and she understood directly. She was not far from me. She came and done. That day, my daughter was with her father because I was just divorced. And then I've been to the hospital, but they released me after, I think, 24 hours. They
Mm.
washed my stomach and they say, okay, you are fine. It's the first time, okay. This is the box, take care, blah, blah, blah. Okay, go to see a doctor who is specialized. Of course, I didn't go. Of course, in my mind, I was like, I have another box. I will make my collection and will start again. But I didn't say that to anyone, even my mom, because I knew my mom just saved me. I was like, you can't say it. It's crazy what I'm telling you today, but that's a reality that who I was. I was really planning. And from moment to moment, when I was going up, down, some period were better than others. Finally, I got a good period where I moved in Luxembourg and my life started to change. I embraced a full career in finance. I started to grow in finance. Then I
Mm.
had, let's say like that, because I had what we call a false happiness in my case because I didn't address my problem. Never I've been back to the root cause. Never I healed my childhood. Yeah, I've seen many psychiatric doctors, but I was not speaking about the truth. I was turning around here and there, but they're not clairvoyant. They don't have a crystal ball to guess what you think in your mind. You get the point. They apply what they know. But if you want to lie, I'm sorry, you can lie to yourself and you can lie to everyone. Then time
So why do you think you're still here today? Nearly 1 million people around the world die by suicide every year. In the United States, it's a little over 47,000 people who die by suicide every year. And every 11 minutes, someone in the United States dies by suicide. So that's like 132 people per day in the US that die by suicide. And you've had multiple attempts.
yes.
What do you think is why are you still here? What do you think is the one strength that you possess or character that flaw or I'm it's something about you that has kept you here and I want to know what do you think that is?
Yeah. To be honest with you, even in my worst moment, I had faith.
Mm.
And personally, I think that this helped me. Even I wanted to die, at the same time, I wanted to live, if you get my point. It's like crying for help. At the same moment, when you want to die, you cry for help, hoping that something can change because you think it's your last exit. And I want to say, people who were around me and my family always arrived on time. Like my mom, she got an intuition that night. It was late, it was maybe 10, 11 p.m. And I was working the day after. But she called, she never do that. The last time, and this is the most craziest part in my story, the last attempt, I stayed longer at the hospital. I was into intensive care. I thought my door was closed. I was alone in my villa in Luxembourg. And my ex-partner was a very difficult situation with him. I've been beaten. He was drinking. He was a womanizer. The best you can find was him. But of course, I attracted him because I was already broken. You get my point? Then
Mm.
I can blame only myself. when I look back. I was a victim, yes, but at the same time, I attracted that because I was a lost soul. And he was a lost soul too. He is the one that has been put out by the police because I was beaten. Then I do that action, let's say like that. And at that moment, I will never forget that. I was sure my door was closed. Probably it was open and I was sure it was closed. I don't know what really happened. But at the moment when I took again the alcohol and all the pills, I called my mom and I said, Mom, please take me back with you. And I was crying because she died, was 1 year before I did
Mm,
that. And
wow.
I was like, my life has no sense, you know. And people will tell me, yes, but you had a daughter. Yes. But in that precise moment, nobody is existing, even you.
Sure.
Nothing exists anymore. And when even the doctor was asking me, say, you didn't think about your daughter. Nothing exists. You don't. And I think also I received the help at that moment because I called my mom like I was calling God. You get the point? Help me, take me back with you, do something. I want to die. And then I
Mm,
took all the pills and everything. My ex was separated from me. He could not enter in the house. He came and he's the one who called the SAMU. The SAMU is SAMU, is a special unit when it's an emergency that the person is ready to die. And that's how I've been saved.
wow.
Finally, every attempt I've done, I was calling either my guides, my grandmother who died when I was 12, or stuff like that, because I didn't feel I'm understood by anyone. And I was calling God, I was calling my guides, everything, but at the same time, I was crazy to do the things, to
Mm-hmm.
go, live. I know it doesn't make sense, but at that
Well,
moment,
no, it does make sense because that's the depression. That's whatever you're going through. It's those are the thoughts that are not real. So the depression, the suicide ideation, those things are telling you you're not worthy and you don't deserve to be here. Take your own life, and those thoughts are not real. And I'm glad that you were able to overcome that and still be here today to help other people. So when you're working with your clients, Sabine, and you're talking with them, what is the number one goal that you want to achieve with your clients when you're working with them?
find happiness and joy back. Because
Mhm.
when you are not happy and you don't feel the joy, that's the moment when you go like this, you go down. The next step is start to love yourself, because in such a stage, when people are coming to me, most of the time they are incapable to love themselves. And I cannot tell them, look at you in the mirror and look how beautiful you are and love yourself.
Mhm.
Doesn't work that way. We need to reinstall the happiness, reinstall the joy, and then love is coming. But mainly, I am also surrounding them. When I say surrounding, is holding the space for them with love. That's mainly what I do, that they feel they are not judged, they are listened to. I understand what they say. I am able to comprehend everything, and I have the tool and technique to help them. Then they are in a space where they start to feel, okay, I can open myself. I can
Yeah.
open myself and I'm feeling secure. They have
Mhm.
no danger to speak this time.
Wow, that's beautiful. So, on the topic of love, Sabine, this podcast was created in honor of my dad. And my father was once a radio show host. He hosted a sports show called Speaking of Sports. And when he passed away, I wanted to do something to honor him, but I don't know anything about sports, but I know all about love. So the number one question that I ask my guests who appear before me on Speaking of Love podcast, Sabine, how do you define love?
How I define love. is a state where you feel you are content, you feel complete, and you feel loved.
Mm.
But when I say you feel love even by the earth. It's like the earth love you and you can feel it. You have the love for animal, but you receive also. But often people confuse love with attachment in a relationship. But
Yeah.
love is much more than that. And I understood love only after I healed from my broken childhood, my situation where I was a total lost soul. That's the moment when I started to heal that I understood what is love.
Mm-hmm.
It's a, it's a state of being. It's not loving someone, having sex with the person, cuddling. No, it's more than that. It's much higher, much stronger than this.
Sure.
But you need to feel inside you, and to feel the love inside you, you must remove all the blockages that
Mm.
come from your life, from the moment when you are born. If you had trauma when you are born, or even later on, you have to address everything. If you feel you had some blockages, or even in the family, some limiting belief that blocks you, address it to find freedom. And when you feel free inside, you are able to receive love.
Mm.
Love
And
is everywhere.
it is everywhere. And I think one of the qualities that makes what you do so important is the fact that not only have you do you have the ability to love, but you're taking your love and you're giving it to other people. You're spreading it around like confetti. When you work with your clients, that's an act of love. When you're helping people, that's an act of love. So in spite of everything that you've been through and the traumas that you have endured, you have taken all of that and you're still standing today to say, hey, I'm going to love others. I'm going to help others. I'm going to see the best in others and help them bring out the best in themselves. So, for that, I totally commend you and I thank you for being here today. I'm going to put your website here up. It's sabinetherapies.com. Is that correct?
That's correct. Thank you. Yeah.
That's correct. If anyone would like to reach out to Sabine for her help, please do so. She is a wonderful woman and she has so many gifts and talents. She has the biggest heart of anyone I've ever known. And I'm just so proud to have you here today, Sabine.
Thank you, Latoya. Thank you so much for receiving me.
Do
Thank
you
you.
have is there anything else you'd like to share with my audience before we conclude our interview today?
I would say you are on earth, and it took me a while to understand that. But if you are on earth with the family where you are, as much as it seems crazy, because my family was very dysfunctional, you still choose to be here. You
Mm,
still choose that family. If you look on the spiritual level, because I'm very spiritual also, one person who is known in that field, Dolores Cannon, said one day in a speech, everything is planned in advance before you incarnate here. And I really believe that. When I looked back at my life and when I look at me today, what we can achieve with people, I would say live your life to the fullest, because you are not here on earth by coincidence. You are here on earth because you have a mission. This is why I spoke about her when she says everything is planned. You have a mission. Sometimes people, yeah, succeed, unfortunately, to take their life and have to pass, but everyone has a mission. And if you have the chance, like me, do not succeed in suicide attempt and understand why, when, how, where, and everything, believe me, this planet can be a big ball of love. You have a mission like I had, but I didn't understand because I was so broken. And that's the fact. When we are so depressed, depression is not falling on your head like this. It's the consequences of many things that happened before that never has been addressed. This is why it's important to address the past, because everything is starting in the past. But what we do, we repress. I cannot speak, I cannot cry, I cannot shout, I cannot be angry. Then we put on ourselves. And it's like anger turned towards you. But then it goes deep inside. Your mind delete, but your body keep it. And one day it's coming back and you start to go deep, deep down. One bad experience after another bad experience, and again another on the top. Then you go down, and if at that moment you don't really address the root cause, it's like waking up another trauma after another trauma, because that's what happened to me. This is why I reached that stage to finally try to take my life. But I didn't understand at that moment. And now I can say I understood, and I can tell you everyone has a mission. And please, if you are today in depression, don't just take the pills and stop there and say, oh, I'm feeling better now, because that's what I've done. And the doctor was, okay, yeah, you feel better, fine, go to see a psychiatrist, speak. Yes, that's good to speak with a psychiatric doctor. You need to speak, especially at that bad moment. But you cannot stop there. You need to go much deeper, find the root cause, dig into your past. What is it that make me so sad all the time? What is it that I cannot cope with that situation? How can I deal in a better way? How can I turn around to have a better life? But you need to dig in the past, because everything is created in the past.
Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you for those powerful words, Sabine. I really appreciate you being here today. Your message was powerful. And I love the way that you're vulnerable. You're coming and you're bearing your soul to my audience and letting them know that it's okay because we're not alone. Everyone has faced some form of adversity in their lives. And if we have the right mindset to reach out for help, we can still be here. Even after 5 failed attempts, you're still here. So you
Absolutely.
are a living testament to what is possible if you reach out. So if anyone is watching today, you'd like to reach out to Sabine. Her website is sabinetherapies.com. That's www.sabineTherapies.com. So thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate you for speaking to my audience. If anyone has missed any portion of this podcast, it will be available on YouTube, Facebook, and all major podcast platforms. I do want to let my audience know that I just completed writing a book. It's a suicide loss survivors book, and I wrote it on my own account based on my experience from losing my dad. So the book will be available. I'll show you the cover here, and I'm going to take the banner. The book is called Speaking of Love, just like my podcast. And the book is a suicide loss survivor's guide of hope, healing, and love. Now, the paperback version will be available for sale on Amazon on May 25th. However, you can go to Amazon today and order the Kindle version, which will be downloaded directly to your Kindle on May 25th. Now, the special day, May 25th, it would be my dad's 70th birthday is May 25th. So that's the reason for the publication and the release date. So please support me in that in my efforts to spread love and to give hope to people who have lost someone to suicide, because with a suicide death, it offers the pain and healing is more complex as it would be with any other death. So I just want to help people heal. I want to help them and give them hope, teach them ways to honor their loved one, and most of all, to spread love to them. So, thank you all for being here today. And this is my 124th episode of Speaking of Love. And I will be back in 2 weeks with another guest. on the podcast, Speaking of Love. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Thank you, Sabine, for being here. And thank you to my audience for viewing and listening and being here today. I appreciate you all. Have a great weekend.